Thank you, buddy. Yeah. Good morning. How many of you are excited to be here? Some of you should convince your face. Just kidding, kind of. So, I want to say this, okay, because there's something unique happening in this area, in this city and in this area. There really is. There's a big difference being made, and community is a massive part to that. There's a lot of people that understand that and are doing different things in the community, and I know this is a room of leaders here, and you guys are all doing a lot of awesome things, okay? But community is a really big deal, because for addiction, what happens is they want to isolate, they want to hide in the shadows, the relationships are a mess in their life, where they're I could go on and on and on. You guys are, I'm sure, aware of it. But when relationships are important, when there's things happening in the community, when we're being intentional about talking to each other, we're being intentional about caring how other people are doing, so on and so forth, it changes the dynamics of a city in a very big way. When community and relationship becomes emphasized. And one of the things you're going to see, okay, you're going to see national news media come to this city to begin to cover what's happening. You're going to see that happen. That there's something, it's a bigger deal than we realize that's taking place. And that's why I emphasize the importance of it. We can sit back and watch, or we can join the fun. Because lives are being saved. There's still a problem. Let's not pretend it's not there. But lives are being saved and changed. Restoration is happening. Okay? There's a lot more people out there that need it. And we have the choice of whether or not we want to get in that fight and partner with God and make it happen. All right? So, let me get started by just sharing a little bit of my story. Sure, more than a few people in the room have heard it, but I'll be brief. So, I was raised in a good home. It was a religious home, but I was raised in a good home. There was no drugs or alcohol in my home. Well, except for most homes these days have really, really good drugs right in the medicine cabinet. We're going to talk about that today, how it's actually, you can be very intentional, and it'd be very benefiting to get rid of those. If you're not using them anymore, don't need them, don't let them sit in your medicine cabinet. Me and a whole bunch of my friends fueled our addiction for all of my high school years and beyond, just by looking in your medicine cabinet. Painkillers, it was very quickly the harder drugs. It was friends dying right and left. I was just as bad or worse than any of them. I can't give you the perfect definition why I survived, but I'm going to capitalize on it. I'm going to capitalize on it because God had a hand on my life long before I wanted to acknowledge it or partner with him. 21, went to my first rehab. Split after about 5 months of being there. I was high that night. Totaled my car in a blackout 2 weeks later. It was years more of that. It was another rehab at the age of 26, and finally it stuck. I did relapse one more time after that. That was the age of 26. I got clean and sober right before I turned 27, and I've been living in recovery now for over 10 years. Okay? Rick talked about all sorts of different addictions. I had a list of them coming into recovery. I was addicted to pornography, cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, depression, negativity. Those are addictions too. Just go home and watch the news all day and tell me if you feel encouraged when you're done, okay? Jesus has set me 100% free from every single one of them. 100%. And it's been a very long time since they came back. That reality is available for anybody that wants to partner with it. So, I'm no stranger to it. I've spent most of all my time in that 10 years now being very passionate about going back into the places where there's the darkness and the addiction and the problems, and saying, I'm going to go back in and be the light in any way I can. In third world countries, in ghettos here in America, households in beautiful suburban America where there's no problems, right? No problems in suburbia, like Denial, Ohio. Plenty of places like that where there's just as many problems. There's just a facade only money can buy put over the front of it. Just as many people hurt, okay? We called this event specifically Hope Dealers for a reason. Obviously, it's a play on words. I used to be a dope dealer. I was never very good at it. I consumed it all. Just going to be real with you. But that has radically changed in my life. And now I have the privilege of being somebody that my constant interaction with people and my mindset is I can leave a seed of hope in this situation or water one that's already been planted. There's something I can do to go out of my way, call someone, start a relationship, start a meeting, which is the name of the meeting we have here every single Monday morning. It's called Hope Dealers. It's awesome. People are being set free from horrible addictions, and their lives are being transformed, and it's beautiful to be a part of. And we're just barely getting started. Travis and Leslie are really awesome. And one of the things, they're the pastors here who are leading worship. They've chosen to say, I'm not going to just sit back and do nothing. I'm not just going to pretend this isn't happening. I'm going to, or at least we're going to open our doors Monday mornings so somebody can do something. We're going to do a training. We're going to be intentional about saying, what is it I can do to help bring more hope and more change in this situation and what's going on right now, okay? And if you think about it, obviously, I emphasize this. It's like it's not a stretch to say right now that we're really in danger of losing an entire generation to addiction. It's not dogmatic. It's not a stretch. It's not, okay? Now, one of the things that I've consistently seen, and I really had to learn myself, was that I had to be very aware as I'm interacting with someone that's struggling, that my job is to meet them where they're at. I can't really walk into a situation and just expect them to be where I'm at in my relationship with God and my clarity and my freedom and just share something from the state where I'm at and then just get frustrated because they don't understand it. I have to be intentional about entering in and coming to their level. It's the equivalent of like, okay, so we're in a church context. Say you're like a missionary, okay? And you feel like God's calling you to China. And you go to China and you just go around speaking English all day and get really frustrated because no one will learn English. You guys, I'm here to bring you God. You don't understand what I'm saying? Seriously? You expect me to learn Chinese? Really? I need to enter into their culture and learn how to speak their language, revealing principles that they need, but learn how to say it in a way they can understand and they can grab a hold of. We're going to get into more of that, okay? I've heard people have said that want to do something. They have the heart of compassion. They're wanting to get into this fight in some way, shape, or form, and they say that maybe they've never struggled with addiction. So they say to themselves, they're like, well, because I don't know what addiction's like. I can't sit down and talk with that person who can't stop drinking, put a needle in their arm, whatever, fill in the blank, okay? I haven't experienced, like, how can I really talk to that person? I haven't experienced it myself. This is what I say to people. I say, okay, so if what I'm saying, if that principle is true, there's no way I can help somebody unless I have experienced exactly what they have experienced, okay? If that is true, do you realize that Jesus is completely useless? He took the weight of sin on, but he never experienced it. He didn't experience that lifestyle. He has no idea what that's like. So for me to sit here and say, well, I haven't experienced what it's like to be abused when I was younger, the addiction, the this, the that, I can't help you. That's like saying Jesus is irrelevant. Then Jesus, if that principle is true, he can't do anything either. Every single one of us can be intentional about loving people. Every single one of us can sit down and have a cup of coffee and listen. Every single one of us can seek first to understand before we say something really quick. I was about a year into recovery. I got clean and sober in San Diego and lived there for almost a decade. Had a couple of kids there, started a business there, which I still have. Met a beautiful Brazilian there. But I was there roughly a year, and I remember I was going to a meeting one morning, AA meeting, which I was very, very militant, almost my first year of recovery. It was wake up at like 5 a.m. in the morning or 5:30, read my Bible, pray, read my big book, go to a 7 a.m. meeting, and most mornings I went to an 8:30 meeting too. You can do that. I understand recovery is different there, but nonetheless, there's resources everywhere, and you guys will get to know some more of that as the day goes on, okay? But I'm on my way. I remember, I'll never forget this in my entire life. It was just this moment where God changed a perspective in me, like that, okay? I'm sitting at this stoplight. I remember it was raining. I was drinking Starbucks. It's hard to find in rural Ohio. New Philadelphia has one, though. So this bus pulls up. I would like to say this young boy that I saw was 8 to 10 age range, something like that, okay? This bus pulls up. It's a red light. This bus pulls up. And there's this boy sitting there in the window, and he's just got this hollow, blank stare out the window, okay? Now, when you've lived in hell, it becomes real easy to read when someone else is living in it, okay? That doesn't mean someone that hasn't experienced can't see it and help, like I just said, okay? It's easier to be compassionate when we understand, when that's the mode of operation, okay? It doesn't excuse people's actions. It just says, I'm actually going to extend grace right here. Not my judgment, grace, okay? I'm sitting there, I see this 10-year-old boy. He's staring out the window, and you can just tell he's lifeless. It's not like he's just tired and doesn't want to go to school. There's a well of depression issues going on inside of him. And it was, call it whatever you want, I'll just describe it to the best of my ability. It was like time froze for a second, and I hear these thoughts running through my head. Don't pretend like you know exactly what's going on in his life. He may not have eaten in 3 days. He may have watched his dad beat his mom all night. Maybe his parents are forcing it. Maybe his dad's giving him alcohol at age 10. Maybe his sister just died. All these thoughts were running through my head. And it was like I don't know how to describe, it was like 5 minutes that took place in like 1 second, okay? Some of you are probably like, you're weird. Some of you are like, I understand that. Regardless, it like sank into my heart. And it was a mode of operation that I stuck with, choosing. I think sometimes we steer away from that mode of operation because we say, well, that means I'm excusing their behavior. No, it doesn't. You can still enter into relationship with someone and do everything in your power to understand and help. It doesn't mean you're condoning their actions. It's showing them, there's a way out, and I can show you. I'll listen. When I was in addiction, you develop this skill set, okay? You develop a really, truthfully, it's an extremely useful skill set. It's just used for all the wrong reasons. But you switch that from where what's fueling it is darkness, and you fill it with light, that skill set can actually be intensely useful for a lot of good too. A lot. But what's going on, some of you, as I'm describing this, Kay, you're like, I lived it, I get it already, or you're saying, I understand that. There's other people in the room, this is gonna really shift your perspective and open your eyes, okay? There'll be stuff like that all day long. If we're listening, you're gonna get something out of all of it, okay, that you can grab a hold of. But I developed this skill set. There's this pain, undealt with pain inside, this anxiety, this nobody loves me. Why does everything go wrong for me? And I was good at putting on a smile or getting the right drugs in my system so I could be in public and then put on a smile, however you want to say it. But internally, it's chaos. And you develop this skill set. And what happens is we want to keep our distance from people who are struggling with addiction because oftentimes their first response is, I don't want to talk to you, you beep, 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 beep. This is what they're saying when they say that. I'm dying, please help me. Inside, I literally feel like I'm in a grave. Will you please help me? It just sounds like, you stupid son of a... fill in the blanks. I'm tempted to say the words just to break our church paradigm. We got to understand some things. Don't pretend that you're going to enter into a mess and expect all them to clean up before you enter into it. It's not going to happen. And don't expect that you're going to show up and they're magically just going to say, gosh, I'm so glad you're here. I'll fix my whole life right now. Thanks. Absolutely. Take my needle, take my balm, take that half gallon, get it out of here. Let's go to church. Hallelujah. No. You might have to love on somebody for a couple of years. You might have to love on for a couple of months. You might love on for a couple of years and they might not make it. Be really real, okay? I've seen far too much of it. I am not responsible for their response. I am responsible to love them. Where they are at, exactly where they're at, exactly what they're going through. Meet them where they are, speak their language, and show them, I am not judging you. No, I'm not condoning your actions, but I still will be in relationship with you. I will help you. Some of you are like, well, what do I say next? Well, if you stick around all day, you're going to find out, you're going to know a phone number to call. You're going to know a meeting where you can plug them into. You're going to know how to interact with them better. But we have to, it's like we say, let's just pretend the problem's not here. It'll go away. How many of you ever tried that with a financial bill you got to pay? Did the problem go away? Or did the interest accrue? That's what's happening out there right now. The interest is accruing. Because we're pretending it doesn't exist. I understand not everyone in this room is doing that. I get it. I know I'm in a room full of people that are in the fight. But I'm telling you, there's a way to double down right now to make a bigger impact. People say, well, time will heal all wounds. If that was the case, do you think the overdose rate would have been raised in all these years? Time is not a healer. God is a healer. Yes, when the wound is addressed properly, time can be an element to the healing, but time is not the healer. God is the healer. You guys tracking with me? Good. There's a battle going on between dark and light. We can fill in our theological differences or agreements or opinions, but there's an unseen war going on. And what happens oftentimes is, just another way to describe it, what happens oftentimes is we get into a situation with someone who's really struggling, okay? And out comes their toolkit to keep you away from the pain. And it's a cuss word, it's an insult. Anybody ever gone into a situation to help someone that's really struggling, and they flip the script on you, and when, by the time you're done, you're thinking you're the problem? Anybody ever been the person that did that to somebody else? That's the skill set I'm talking about. It's very manipulative, controlling. You want to know why people who are really in the mess of the pain and the darkness are so good at convincing you that you're the problem? Because they actually believe it inside of them. They actually believe everybody else is the problem. And it's this bubble they've created in their world that's darkness. You can't see when it's dark. You can't think, you can't process, it's blurry, you can't get clarity. And it's painful, and it hurts. And then all of a sudden, someone with us shows up and pierces it with light. And they're like, oh my goodness, I'm exposed. That light doesn't feel good. Get the light off of me. When it's what they're desperately crying out for, it's just so new. It's like being in a prison cell. You ever seen in the movies? In prison cell, like way back in the whatever, 1500s or something, and someone's in that prison cell like 24 hours a day for 5 years, they were a POW or something, and they come out into the light the first time, and they can't walk, they can't even open their eyes, they're tattered, they're like, oh my gosh, can you turn the sun down a little bit? It's the exact same thing that's going on with people who are living in addiction. It's the exact same thing that's going on. We're showing up, we're carrying a light that's beginning to expose what's going on in here. And they bust out their toolkit. Get away from me. You don't want to help me. Don't pretend like you understand. Here's something really practical. Next time that somebody says, don't pretend like you understand, just tell them, you're right, I don't. Checkmate. Okay, so I don't. Big deal. Doesn't mean I can't help you. And don't think that I have faced the same thing every time. Again, this is the kind of thing. This is a very practical tool right here. Just at our meeting, it was a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman comes in who's been frequent in our meeting. His life is radically changing. If you could sit down and hear what he went through when he was young, you would just sit and cry and hug him and be like, oh my gosh, how does anybody live through that? We don't hear that part. We don't know that part. We just see this part where he wakes up with a fifth of Jack and an 8-ball of Coke, and we just say, my gosh, you addict, you idiot, just get over it and stop. No, his actions are not okay, but you don't know this part. Okay? He comes in and he starts describing to me something he's going through with his family. And I'm not even going to say it because for some reason in church we don't want to talk, we don't want to get really real. We don't want to say what's really going on out there. It's messy. It's real messy. And we need to learn how to enter into the situations judgment-free. He begins to describe to me stuff going on with his family. And I just said to him, look, I've been through a lot, man. I've been through a mess in my life, but I'm going to tell you right now, I've not experienced anything you're talking about. I've not been through that at all. I haven't experienced what you're describing with a child, what happened, what this, that, and the other. But I'll tell you this, I do know what you can do to get free from it. I have not experienced the pain you're going through. Nope. The mess you're in, similar but not the same. But I do know, I want you to know that I love you and I can help you. What can I do to help? Here are tools you can put in your hands to begin to turn a corner on that. Guess what? He didn't act on what he was going to do, which would not have been good for him. He's still clean and sober, and the situation has changed with his daughter. Just by being someone that's a sounding board of understanding and judgment-free in front of them, to encourage them, speak hope into this situation. Some of this stuff, when we hear it, like some of you might be hearing what I'm saying right now, and you're like, tell me something like more powerful and insightful. That's too simple. It works. It works. Ridding myself of judgment and choosing to love someone and understand and enter into a relationship and walk them into a space that I've experienced, but they haven't experienced yet, and it's relationship that walks someone into that space. I'm gonna end with this. I wrote some notes down. I didn't say one thing I wrote down. Nothing. Okay, one thing, the part about national media is going to come cover what's going on here. You guys will see it happen because it's more powerful than we think. We're going to just implement something we weren't going to do, and Rick's going to come up and talk about what he's trying to explain to me right now. Come on up, buddy. It was either that or have you explain it one more time.
So we were in Warwick, Virginia. We went twice. And the first time, just to give you some context, we got into town, and the first thing we heard was there was a body that had not been claimed for 36 hours. Nobody was taking it up. The biggest drug dealer in town was a grandmother with a statue of Jesus in the front yard. Just to give you some context.
Facts. We went in the living room and prayed for her. Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we take our second trip down to Warwick, Virginia. Down.
Which, let me say this real quick. Yeah. This is the ranked 4th worst county to live in all of America. in 2018. War is the worst city in the worst county in the worst state for drug problems. That's where we were.
So we go to the second time to war. We end up going into like in Philadelphia, the county seat of called Welch, and we're walking around with a camera. And we had people coming out of their businesses asking us if we were from CNN or from ABC News, because they were tired of people putting them on a pedestal for their blight and their despair. So they were getting all this publicity for all this negativity, and what we're seeing is it's going to change, and they're going to say, what happened in Tuscarawas County that changed it? Because our belief is that if we are on the verge of doing what we think we're going to do, it's going to be a model that you can do in any rural community. Right? So one of the ladies said to us, what was the biggest difference in Warren, West Virginia over the last decade, 4 or 5 decades, was the lack of leadership in their community. They had all left, or at least stopped paying attention to it. So I just want to give you the context of what we see is what we're going to be doing is pushing up, and there's still the media and news, and unfortunately our government is trying to push it down. And so, and I don't know if that's really intentional. I think part of it is intentional, because people just like people to be in despair. We ever had people that said, hey, how you doing? Aren't you like depressed like me? Like we want to bring you down to their level because they don't want you to be at this level.
Aren't you depressed like that?
Yeah, because they don't want you to be, they don't want you to be happy if they're unhappy. So what we're trying to say is we think that this is going to really transform, because they're going to start to say, why are these programs so effective? It's not the programs, it's the people.
Yes.
It's the relationships being restored. Thank you.
Yes.
We won't be fighting.
I want to end with a very, very simple story happened last night. Okay? My wife and I, there's some people in the room that know, but for those that don't, I'm not telling you something I practice for 1 hour on Monday mornings once a week. I live this way at the gas station. I live this way when I'm shopping for groceries, when I'm at the post office. Wait, no, everything's automatic online. I haven't been to the post office in a long time, but I've done it at the post office. This is 2019. Yeah, there's still post offices. Anyways, this is a lifestyle. Okay? There's a lady in our neighborhood, and we saw her walking once or twice. She had this huge brace thing on her leg, and she would walk through, obviously rehabilitating her leg or whatever. And we were driving 2 weeks ago. Was it a month? No, it was yeah, but there was the first time. A couple weeks ago, something, okay? We're driving past, and my wife's just like, stop the car. So we stop. Hey, how you doing, ma'am? I'll say this real quick. So I've had the privilege over the years of doing a lot of very intentional training with churches and taking them on the streets and teaching them how to interact with people in public and bring about real encounters with God and something that's tangible and real. And over the years, a lot of people ask me and they say, so what's the secret password? How do you break the ice? What do you, what's the code? And I say, all right, listen, you ready for this? Write it down. You ready for this? This is what you do. You go up to someone and you say, hello. How are you today? What's your name? Oh, you're wearing a Browns hat? Rough for you this season. I had to, sorry. But it's just, hi, how are you? What's going on? Stop the car, she comes to the window. Hey, what's your name? How are you? We live down the street. You live in the neighborhood? What's your name? Hi. We begin to talk, and my wife says, this might sound strange, but would it be okay if we prayed for you? It looks like you're in a lot of pain, whatever's going on. Can we pray for you? Her leg wasn't in an immense amount of pain. I don't even know if she was feeling it at the moment, but it was not healed yet, right? We there was no flashbang, pow, God spoke, lightning struck, voila. It was just, we prayed, loved her. This is our names. We live here. This is who we are. We took 5 minutes to talk to her through the car window. I don't even know where we were on our way to the Joe Audi Memorial on dinner. That's where we were going. We drive off. Last night, I'm in my driveway, my little weed blower. Rick makes fun of me. He says it's a glorified hair dryer. But I'm blowing, there's just a lot of leaves and things, getting it off the driveway, and she's just walking right past. I'm in the community. This is my neighbor. It's being intentional about loving people. It's so much more. I understand there's help that's needed, or therapy, or some people do need detox, and I get all that. It's important, and it has an important place, and we're going to talk more about it today, okay? But so much more can be done than just saying, I'm going to stop and talk to you right now and love you for a minute, okay? Or a few minutes here, all right? Hey, how you doing? And she was walking, and I don't think she knew she was going to see me, and I was blowing, and I saw her, and she's like, hey! She comes walking over, and we just started talking. Asked her how her leg was doing, what was going on. I could just smell alcohol on her breath, okay? But she's smiling. Just because I can smell alcohol in her breath also doesn't mean she's an alcoholic. She could, okay? But maybe she just had a couple of beers with dinner and she doesn't have a problem. I'm not going to my judgment is not going to be the first thing that comes up. I'm going to choose to understand, okay? So we start talking, and she just starts to, she was so excited to see me because she's like, it's the weirdest, ever since you and your wife prayed for me, all these things are happening in my life. Things are changed, like this happened and that and this. And it's like all of a sudden I've turned a corner on, it's like something's changing. And I just began to tell her about how good God is, and we just began to talk. And some people in the room, this next part might challenge you. Some people in the room will just say like, yep, that's my Jesus. But I said, well, how's your leg? What's going on? She's like, my leg is actually getting a lot better. It's almost completely healed. She still had the brace, but she's like, but it's weird because I'm walking different. My ankles are killing me. I said, well, here, let me pray for you real quick. And I prayed for her, and by the time she left, she had no more pain in her ankles. There's this guy named Jesus. His name is the healer for a reason. It's physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's the heart, it's the complete healing of everything. I got to just encourage her again. Take the time to be relational. Say, I care about you. I care about you, okay? I'm going to listen. I'm going to do what I can inside of the means that I have to help you in any way I can. Could you imagine? I'll end with this. Ryan's going to come up. Why don't you come up, buddy? It'll force me to shut up. Come on up, buddy. I'm going to end with this. What if 20% of this county lived that way? So not even the stepping out and like praying, and maybe you're like, well, that's a little weird. I follow Jesus. It wasn't weird for him. It's not going to be weird for me. But what if like 20% of this county just chose to say, I'm going to take time throughout my day to talk to somebody. I'm going to go out of my comfort zone. What I'm going to do outside of this comfort zone is I'm going to talk to somebody that visibly seems like they're struggling. I'm going to take time today to call somebody that I know for a fact is struggling and let them know, hey, I just want you to know something. If you need something, I'll help you, okay? If you're struggling, you can call me. I'll just add this on. They'll probably ask for money. Tell them no. Okay? Just let me make that clear. But just intentionally saying, I'm here. I want to establish a relationship with you and love you.